All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about a tool that's fast becoming a secret weapon for anyone in DevOps, N8N. We're going to break down what it is, how it actually works, and, most importantly, why it might just be the key to automating some of the most complex, tedious parts of your job.
So, here's the game plan. We'll start with the absolute fundamentals of N8N and how you actually build workflows. Then, we'll kick it up a notch and see how you can supercharge them with AI. After that, we'll get into the really critical decision of hosting, look at some real-world examples, and wrap it all up with the key takeaways that'll give you a real edge in your career.
Okay, so let's get into it. At its heart, what is N8N? Well, it's all about solving a problem that every single person in tech, especially in ops, knows all too well. That endless, soul-crushing cycle of manual, repetitive tasks.
I mean, just think about your day-to-day for a second. Provisioning infrastructure, running deployment scripts, watching alerts, syncing data between a dozen different services, all of it is absolutely critical, right? But man, it can be a massive drain on your time and focus. What if you could automate all of that without getting stuck writing and maintaining tons of custom code?
And that's exactly where N8N steps in. It's an open-source tool that lets you connect all your different services. We're talking everything from AWS and GitHub to Slack and even your own internal APIs, using a visual drag-and-drop interface. It's basically automation, but visualized.
So what does that actually mean for you? It means you can map out and run incredibly complex processes visually. Instead of writing all that fragile glue code to connect your CI/CD pipeline to your monitoring tool, you link them together on a canvas. This isn't just about speeding up development. It's about making powerful automation accessible to everyone on the team, not just the coding wizards.
So how does this all work under the hood? Let's look at the basic building blocks of any N8N workflow. Seriously, if you can get your head around these 4 components, you're well on your way to mastering this thing.
So everything, and I mean everything, starts with a trigger. This is the event that kicks your whole automation into gear. A really common one would be, say, a developer opens a brand new pull request on GitHub. And that's it. That's our starting gun. Okay, so the trigger fires. Now what? Well, the workflow starts moving through a series of nodes. Think of these as the individual action steps. One node might clone the repo. The next one runs a test. Another one could query a database. You just chain them together one after another to build out your process. Simple as that. Now this is where a huge DevOps need gets met. Observability. Every single time your workflow runs, it logs what's called an execution. This is your complete audit trail. It shows you exactly what ran, when it ran, and what the result was. For debugging and just making sure things are reliable, it's an absolute lifesaver. And finally, the magic that ties this all together, expressions. This is how you make your workflow smart. An expression lets you grab data from a previous node, like say the URL from that initial GitHub pull request, and then you can feed it right into the next node. This is what lets you build truly dynamic, data-driven automation instead of just a dumb static script. Okay, so we've got the basics down, but let's take this to the next level. Basic automation is fantastic, but N8N also lets you plug artificial intelligence directly into your workflows. This is where you go from simple scripts to intelligent, adaptive systems. So you can connect to AI services you already know, like OpenAI, to do things like automatically summarize long incident reports or even generate draft release notes. But here's where it gets really powerful. You can use the output from an AI model to make decisions in your workflow. For example, an AI could analyze an error log and decide, is this a critical P1 incident or just a low priority thing, and then route the alert to the right people automatically. Now, for a really critical decision for any team looking to use a new tool, and this is something that'll definitely come up in a job interview. Where does this thing actually run? With N8N, you've got 2 main choices, and the one you pick has some major implications for control, cost, and security. So, your first option is to self-host. You run it on your own servers, your own cloud infrastructure, whatever. This gives you absolute, total control over your data, which is perfect if you have tight security or compliance needs. The catch, of course, is you're on the hook for maintenance and setup. The other option is N8N's cloud service. This is all about convenience. You get set up in minutes, and scaling is handled for you. The trade-off? It costs more, and you have less control. It's that classic choice, complete control versus total convenience.
All right, enough theory. Let's get into the good stuff. How are real DevOps teams actually using N8N on the job to solve actual problems?
Okay, a classic use case is full-on CI/CD automation. You can create a workflow that triggers on a Git push to your main branch, automatically builds a new Docker image, pushes that image up to your container registry, and then deploys it to your Kubernetes cluster, all without a single human touching anything.
Another huge one is proactive monitoring. So instead of just having a pretty dashboard you have to stare at, you can build a workflow that actively pulls metrics from your systems. And if a threshold, like CPU usage or an error rate, gets crossed, boom, it automatically creates a ticket in Jira and sends a detailed alert with context to the on-call engineer in Slack.
And building right on top of that, you can automate your entire incident response process. When a critical alert comes in, N8N can automatically create a dedicated war room channel in Slack, invite the right engineers, pull the latest logs from the service that's on fire, and post them right in the channel. Think about how much time that saves in those first crucial minutes of an outage.
And you know, it's not just for infrastructure stuff. N8N is fantastic for those tedious, data-heavy tasks. You can build workflows to automatically pull data from 5 different APIs, clean it all up, transform it, and then load it into a cloud database or a Google Sheet for analysis. This saves literally countless hours of manual data wrangling.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We're going to distill everything we've talked about into the most important points. Whether you're in a job interview or you're just trying to convince your boss to try out a new tool, these are the key things to have in your back pocket.
So let's recap the highlights. First, remember that because it's open source, you have the ultimate flexibility for deep custom integrations. Second, that visual builder is a genuine productivity multiplier. It's not just for beginners. Third, plugging in AI takes your automation from just being reactive to being truly intelligent. And always remember that strategic choice. Self-host for control and security, or go with the cloud for speed and convenience. It's a versatile tool that fits right into the modern cloud-native world.
You know, if you had to boil it all down to one single thought, it would be this. N8N is all about empowerment. It gives DevOps teams the power to automate really complex workflows, but with the flexibility to deploy it in a way that fits their exact needs, whether they're a fast-moving startup or a massive security-focused enterprise.
And that brings us to the end. So the real question to leave you with is this. Thinking about your own job, your own daily grind. What's that one complex, time-consuming workflow that you would automate first? Thanks for tuning in.